All right, Nancy, gaze soulfully into my eyes for the camera. This design is all about this gnomish wonder. Gnancy here was the inspiration point. As I was knitting, I thought, man, that chart almost looks like a hat I could wear and I want to wear. So something you need to know about me is I live in Manitoba, Canada, and our winters are pretty long and they're pretty cold and they're pretty dark and it can get pretty grim. I love to be a little bit playful in the middle of winter, especially in March. Yeah, it's still winter in March. It doesn't really start melting till April here. And Gnancy, we don't get daffodils in March. We also don't get them in April, sorry. The nightcap is a little bit of a pun. I have been naming my gnomes things like Gnancy and Neville and Natasha and Nicholas, but with a G in front ever since I started publishing gnome patterns. So the nightcap, because it does look a little bit like something Scrooge might have worn in one of the movies, but it also looks like a ski cap. And so I wanted to kind of play with that, like ski cap, nightcap, gnomish in joke. It's just a little joke. So what I've done is I've taken the cable from the gnomes and I've changed it a little bit. So I've got some ribbing because unlike Gnancy or Neville, we're not actually attaching the hat to our bodies, which you do in this pattern, but obviously we need some ribbing to keep things snug. And the ribbing grows into the cable. And then there's this big, beautiful cable, things get narrower, narrower, narrow, and then there's a tassel. I've been designing a lot with pom-poms lately. I have a whole collection actually of things called pom balls, and I've got them knit to match the hat. So if there's a colorwork hat, there's colorwork in the pom ball and things like that. But I've never done a tassel, and so this was really fun to do. It helps keep the hat a little bit weighted at the bottom, keeps pulling it down, and is a playful way to use a little bit more yarn. And this speckled yarn shows off really well. Speaking of yarn, let's talk a little bit about the materials. This is a worsted weight hat, but a worsted weight more on the light side. So not one of those heavy worsted that verges on Aran weights. So a nice worsted weight yarn. It will also require you to have about a 4.5 millimeter needle. It really depends on you. So that's why, of course, you'll check your gauge against the gauge listed in the pattern. It's a good idea, it really is. This hat is really stretchy and fits a large number of sizes, and there are a large number of sizes. In fact, it goes from newborn up to adult large with 6 sizes total in there, and it's something you guys could all knit and wear as a family in a family photo. You'd look pretty awesome. So speaking of yarn, let's talk about some of the things you guys will need for this pattern. You'll need worsted weight yarn. Yarn a little more on the lighter side of worsted, not one of those big heavy plump worsted weights that's heading towards Aran. You might also want a cable needle, but you might not. One of the things to know about this is knit with the Bavarian twisted stitch cable style. At least that's the name I know them under. This is from a book I got while I was in Austria at an open air museum. It's called Überlieferter Strickmuster aus dem steirischen Enstal. It's published in English, and I'll make sure that there's a link down below to the stitch pattern dictionary because they're just so beautiful. 1x1 cable crosses. There's a lot of cable crosses in this hat, and if you're using a cable needle every time you do it, it's going to be a little bit tedious. So I made 5 videos to help you guys out. One of them is about how to make a tassel. Really simple, don't be intimidated. But the other 4, those videos are about how to cable without a cable needle. If you can get the knack of rearranging the stitches on the needle without having to use a cable needle, this kind of cabling goes so fast. It's amazing how it can transform something from being a real labor of love to just something you love to knit on. So those things will be linked down below. So one of the reasons I want to do these design diaries is to give you a 360, but it's really hard to do that in a living room armchair. So I'll do my best to give you guys a sense of what this hat looks like from multiple angles. I hope you guys enjoy this one. For more information about me and my patterns, visit imaginelandscapes.com. And while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter where you can receive access to the free pattern library and get the best discount codes I offer anyone. Happy knitting!